Yeah, look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, you know I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it. Got a little time on my hands like a wristwatch. I don't got time for the brakes and the pit stop. Race through the gridlock, take it like Chris Rock. Right to the chin, still win. Heavy metals like Slipknot. Got the driving, I got tunnel vision. I just hit my stride the way I run the business. I've been making paper like I'm Dunder Mifflin. See the end game, I got one division. Look, I don't ever bother with a critic. Hit him with a chronicle of Riddick. Boom, bottle full of Ritalin. I hit him with a little bit of riddle me this, riddle me that. My bad, fell asleep at the gas. No time to wait though. Elon Musk, I'm trying to bankroll. New Tesla just cause I say so. Electric whip like Ivan Van Gogh. I just did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, you know I've been on a mission. Okay, let's get it.
I've been on a mission like totally spice. En mijn bed is je bed, but she totally nice. Nails are blue en het toast wil ik white. Ik compie niet met jou, dat is zo voor mijn lijk. He knew it for sure, but he left with a why. Yeah, we live, but we destined to die. En je say it on me, but I man didn't lie. I'm a lie en ik voel me net Memphis de paai. En ik jag op de koot in de scene. Moest eigenlijk rennen, we lopen misschien. En ik wil niet eens kijken, mijn ogen die zien. En ze reden niet genoeg dat ik kopen we 10. Move in the bean, hier co-star. I got 5 on my name, I got no star. Come to me just to see how my shows are.
They said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, you know I've been on a mission. Okay, let's get it.
Yep, it looks like nope. There's gonna be 12 caps in it. Great job, wasted potential. You guys knew what your win conditions were, and you stuck to it. There's the
These days I don't take advice from anybody who gon' tell me how to do it if they never even did it right. These days I don't waste a minute of my time reminiscing on regrets of the past. It's a different life. These days I don't need nobody's validation. These days I don't need nobody's invitation. These days I don't tell nobody what I'm doing. I just do it. If I fail, keep it pushing till I get it right. Yeah, these days I've been wide awake, I never sleep late. Got a lot to do, I treat a Sunday like a weekday. Do it for my son, set the table, I need 3 plates. Have my cake and eat it, baby, don't forget the cheesecake. Got it, yeah, they know I got it. Confidence contagious, so the ones around me caught it. Everybody waiting on me, hoping I'ma drop it. I feel like all this weight is on me, still I'm never stopping. No, that is not a, yeah. Pushing myself to the limit, I set a goal, but still I never feel enough when I get it. Cause when I go and all these feelings overflow to the ceiling, it's like a hole just open up and I don't know how to feel it. I tell them, look, I don't make mistakes, the mistakes make me. Drop songs when I write them, I don't wait 8 weeks. They too focused on the image now, but that ain't me. A lot of rats taking pics, that's why they say cheese. Lately I've been feeling like there's something off. A lot of friends used to show me love, ain't showing love at all. Yeah, only cheer me on when I was underdog. Running up the numbers, everybody keep on running off. Funny how they wanted me to win until I passed them. Now all of a sudden they be talking in the past tense.
Oh, he does read those. Yep, yes. Right now, I'm definitely curious about.
Turn that up, Rick.
I said forever on the very first day. I fell for you and landed right on my face. Boom, splat, stab me in the back, I'm bruised, bash. Threw me to the curb like loose trash. Left me in the past like who's that?
Who's that?
Damn, wish you would've told me that you felt this way. You been stringing me along with every word you say. You hanging me out to dry, happened 1,000 times. I guess I should've seen it coming any day now. I thought we had it, loving the magic. You had the gasoline and the matches. Lit me on fire, spark up the passion. But I guess it really just wasn't what I imagined. Whoa, guess I gotta live with that, huh? Chest got a hole that could fit a Mack truck. Splat on the ground, I ain't getting back up. But I should've known better, cause I said forever on the very first day. I fell for you and landed right on my face. Boom, splat, right out of the blue like news flash. Thought I had control, but you crashed. Left me in the past like who's that?
No, seriously, who is that?
Splat hit the ground, but I'll bounce right back. Trust me, I ain't going down like that. Custom shirts, I had to dust the dirt off. Adjusted myself, put the crown right back. Okay, I'm shining now. Had to get lost with you to find myself. And I find it kinda funny how the moment that I'm over this is, can I come over quick? No. You had your chance, but you blew it. You had me in the palm of your hand and threw it away. Now you say that you think we can do this again. Second chance, okay, do I look stupid? I don't need you here in my life. Please do not text me.
capsules
coming
back.
in the Spencer as
Drive
well.
over.
Here comes the Duraludon rip. He's going
They're
for it. There's
ripping.
the tail. It's happening.
Who got it?
my
Oh,
God,
Glaceon with the steal this time. Great job, Soul. Down and out, man. You can't go.
Hello, and everybody, and welcome to the Pokemon Unite Coronation League. I am greatly glad to announce that this is week 9, and we are getting it going. And all I can say is we have some spicy stuff for this week. We also had some huge patch notes coming in from earlier this week as well. As you guys know, Zacian has been on the field, but we're going to go ahead and say it is not available for this league and probably won't be available for this league for a while, unfortunately. But we do also have some other notable bans, but I'm going to leave it over to my casters as I have Chopper, PR, and Lily the Goddess, and I will let them go ahead and take it from here. Make sure you guys go ahead and say hello and welcome.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Rhino. This is week 9 of the Pokemon Unite World Coronation League. I'm Chopper from Zine Bread Boosters as well as Elite Force, and I have here with me, just as Rhino said, Lily the Goddess. How you doing today? Everything all right?
I'm doing fantastic, Chopper, and I hope y'all are doing fantastic too, because we have some fantastic sets for you today. But before then, we're going to go over just a bit of the meta shifts, a bit of the patch notes, and we're just going to talk about some stuff.
Yeah, and we are seeing a couple of cooldown reductions on the sides of a couple of defenders like Trevenant as well as Wigglytuff, a couple of buffs as well, and the cooldown reduction of Dragonite's Outrage, and that last tape move has considerable more range and as well as damage, and a couple of considerable nerfs as well to Gardevoir, right, Lily?
Yeah, indeed. Gardevoir's Psychic and Psyshock both got nerfed, but Comfey got just a ton of buffs. But Eldegoss, Urshifu, Tyranitar, and Zoroark all got some pretty hefty nerfs, especially the Urshifu nerf. Sort of messing with his healing a bit. What'd you say, Chopper?
Yeah, you gotta do that, especially when it comes to Aqua Shifu overall, especially when we're playing on solo queue. Extended team fights when it comes to actually having Kofi on as well. You don't need that additional healing, so those changes definitely warranted. And one of my favorite special attackers in the game, also Espeon, receiving some range buffs to some of its moves, as well as that last hit. A lot of guarantees are actually going to be there. Additional to that, Lily, we are also seeing damage increase on the side of Delphox, as well as damage decreases from her. So just trying to move around a bit with that. But also 2 items actually introduced onto the fray.
Indeed, we have 2 items now. We have, what were they called again? We have Slick Spoon and Rescue Hood. Rescue Hood being a very interesting healing move. Sadly, it doesn't seem like it's going to be that useful on any Pokemon besides Comfey, but it is nice to see that Comfey will finally have a useful 3rd item besides possibly just stacking. And along with that, we have Slick Spoon, which, while useful, it lowers the enemy Pokemon's special defense, which can lead to some kills, but some would argue it's not as impactful as it would seem.
Maybe it's a placebo effect to me, Lily, but every time that I actually enter solo queue with Espeon, particularly with the Slick Spoon, I like to run stored power as well as future sight, and I could tell the difference in the damage by just a smidge. It was a lot easier for me to actually rack up that damage consistently, but to be honest, the optimal build for Espeon right now should be Psyshock, Psybeam, and somebody like M-Mats can really take advantage of set buffs. So a lot of changes within Pokemon Unite, and we still have a couple of different Pokemon that have been banned due to different bugs. So we are going to get into that eventually as well.
Yes, indeed. It definitely does seem like this has been a very how do I say, a very range heavy a very range heavy patch. A lot of very much helping the more range characters, of course, besides Gardevoir, getting rid of the speedster Zoroark and kind of nerfing down a bit the heavy counters such as Urshifu. But They are, but of course we do have the Wiggly and Trevenant buffs as well. I would definitely say that the Woodhammer buff was very impactful. I've been seeing it played a lot more, and it's definitely very annoying.
As well as Wigglytuff's cooldown reduction onto Sing, it could be very useful, but when you have other supports in the meta, such as Comfy, Blissey, Eldegoss, whatever you need to actually heal yourself off, you can see Wigglytuff still falling on the wayside, especially with Clefable on the fray with that amount of healing. Especially as well, Lily, when you have a T-Tar that even though it is receiving a couple of nerfs, the Stone Edge buffs could continue to rack up that damage. The stats on it still make him one of, if not the best character in the late game. So as long as you have that true damage in and that particular T-Tar actually doing some damage as well as Urshifu with its true damage, we could see Wigglytuff being a secondary support as well as, granting shields are not going to be as effective when you're playing against characters like Urshifu or Tyranitar that are so effective and relevant in the meta.
I do agree. It just doesn't seem like this is Wigglytuff's time right now. You have a lot of, especially with the other supporters going around, Blissey, Mr. Mime, and and especially Comfy right now. I assume we're going to be seeing a lot more Comfy today. I would sure hope so. It'd be fun to see them. But it seems like now we should go over to the current bans for this week. Oh, for this week, yes. For today.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, absolutely, Lily. We're gonna go into that right now. So the couple of bands that we actually have are pretty much most of the same. Glaceon is actually being banned, but just a particular move. And then there's another Pokemon as well that's been being banned. Now, Delphox, I believe that they haven't made the changes to actually make him viable yet, right? Go ahead.
I don't believe so, no. But
go ahead and look in the players captors updates as I gave you guys all the bans for this week, and we're just banning the Pokemon outright because I don't want misclicks happening to where teams get a game lost due to a misclick. So I'm just gonna go ahead and ban the Pokemon overall.
Okay. But the commissioner has spoken.
So the Pokemon we have banned today are Delphox, Glaceon, Clefable, and of course Zacian. No, I think I speak for everyone saying we just don't really want to see it right now. We don't expect our players to have to pay practically $8 in order to participate.
I agree with you, Lily. And right now, the best character in the game by far is going to be that Zacian. We are going to need some hot fix nerfs for that character. In considerations, if you want to climb up the solo key ranks, now is your opportunity. You grab that dog with a sword and you just start slashing your way onto 2000 LP if they let you. But Delphox, Glaceon, and Clefable being out, it is pretty much targeted. Delphox in particular is going to be super important how they adapt because Delphox has the only anti-healing in the game right now, Lily. So most of the supports are actually going to start running wild.
I do agree, especially with Clefable not being able to take their spots. I'm very interested to see what they'll have instead. Again, possibly a Mr. Mime, a Eldegoss still possibly, or even just a Comfy. And what other supports are there? Blissey, of course. But
Wigglytuff? No.
Wigglytuff, I don't think it's going to be a Wigglytuff. But that's if Blissey doesn't get banned. Who knows? We can see anything nowadays.
Yes, we do, Lily. Now going on to the next segment, after talking about a little bit of the meta, we have been seeing a lot more consistently. Now, do you keep in mind some of the changes actually made? Now, Sableye is still available for the teams to actually get picked. We do know that the character received a few nerfs, but still is pretty strong and just annoying to play against overall. But we should be moving on to the rankings that are currently in place, Lily. So hopefully we can get those transitions in and we can talk a little bit about the top teams as well as the bottoms.
Indeed, we'd love to talk about it a bit. Right now we have War Legion with 6-2, Races Potential 5-3, Team Aura Esports 2-6, Magikarp Clan 1-7, Elite Force 2-6, all in Zapdos League. All fantastic teams, though some of them did get a bye due to the leaving of a specific team.
Yeah, Team Aura Esports actually with the 2-6 Elite Force classifying for playoffs that time. Now that Unsung Heroes was the team that actually got away, the 3-6, solidifying themselves into the playoffs. Now on the Rayquaza side, a little lopsided on that front. Ikigai no Tsurugi with the 8-0 being number one. Team Drip Jungle Grief with 6-2. Dark Aura cannot replace him with the 7-1. Super Squad with the 1-7. Team Roqueto slowly but surely climbing up to the top teams with a 5-3. The next matches today are going to be super impactful when it comes to the playoff race, as we are going to go and look into that bracket, and we're seeing it. These are the standings as we have them. This is how it's going to go down. So for those of you who don't know, the first few rounds, the first 3 rounds are going to count as a gauntlet to actually qualify onto the top 4. So we have the bottom teams actually fighting, and then progressively you get better seeded teams until you reach that round 4 placing for a double elimination top 4 bracket.
Indeed. And we have some very interesting games. We have Team Drip versus Wasted Potential. If Team Drip is able to beat them, Team Drip will go up to A, round 2. Wasted Potential will go down to round 2B. I'm very excited to see how that's going to go. And again, if they're able to beat Jungle Griefers next week, they will go up to round 3A. Very exciting. Very, very excited to see how this goes. And of course, but we do have Magikarp Clan. If they do not win today's game, they will not be eligible for the playoffs.
It is an elimination game between Magikarp Clan and Super Squirtle Squad. And we can't go away without talking a little bit of the drama, right, Lily? So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Rexopic, with the change in team right late in the season, actually going on to Team Drip, they will not be able to use Rexopic in playoffs because you need a minimum of 3 weeks to actually be played. But there is a possibility where Team Drip and Jungle Griefers actually face each other in playoffs. And next week, if I am not mistaken, they also play against each other. Commissioner, correct me if I am wrong.
I believe you are correct.
Yes, so hashtag Team Drip does play the Jungle Griefers next week, and Rexopic can play that game. He is just not eligible to play in the playoffs as of now. The only thing is that, like I said, he can play today and he can also play tomorrow, but again, he just cannot play in the playoffs.
Okay, and Commissioner, there was also another team change that they currently made for another team that is currently in playoffs, correct?
Yes, Team Aura Esports is also making some roster changes, as well as their team captain has decided not to continue with the team. But the rest of the team decided that they're going to go ahead and still work with it, as they do have some subs that they are eligible to still play and do have to play out this week and next week in order for them to actually be eligible for the playoffs. So there's a lot of playoff contentions that from teams that need to happen, and unfortunately, the way the cookie crumbles when it comes down to players leaving teams.
Interesting, and I believe there were some choice words from the members of Team Aura Esports, right, Rhino?
Not entirely sure.
I choose to not think of it as much as drama as more of a reality TV show, and it's just content, just juicy content for the viewers watching at home.
We can obviously say that Team Aura Esports is very motivated with the team that they currently have and the abilities in their current subs. They are determined to continue to make that run in the brackets. Now that we discussed a little bit of how the playoff scene is looking, we're going to go into the matches for today as well. First match of the day, it is the playoff eliminator. It's going to be Magikarp Clan versus Super Squirtle Squad. The winner of this gets playoffs. The loser, unfortunately, goes home.
Indeed. I'm very excited to see how this goes. Both teams 1-7. Both teams not bad. They are not bad teams. They've just had some unfortunate luck. Maybe a few misplays, maybe a few poorly played team fights at Ray. And hey, that's just how the game goes. But I am very excited to see how it goes, because I know both these teams have been putting in a lot of effort, especially this last week, and I do hope it pays off for them.
a couple of mistakes here and there that have cost him greatly when it comes to actually playing with the top teams in the league. A little bit of nerves from both sides, a little bit of failures in execution. Completely normal, especially when you are in the Unite World Coronation League. Some of the teams here can put that pressure on you. The second match of tonight, after going into Super Squirtle Squad and Magikarp Clan, is going to be Aura Esports versus the Jungle Griefers.
Indeed. John Griefers definitely has, seemingly a bit of advantage here being 6-2, but, OU Esports definitely, again, not a bad team. We've seen some great plays by them. Some great plays, great coordination, but who knows? They've definitely still got a big fight ahead of them, and maybe we'll see that. Maybe we'll see a 2-1. Maybe we'll see a 3-game. Who knows? I'm very excited to see.
Trying to climb up the rankings as much as possible, trying to get those rounds, and they do not want to fall into the first rounds of the gauntlet before coming into playoffs. The play.
Indeed.
We're going to go for Wasted Potential versus Team Drip, and this game is going to have a lot of stakes on it too, right, Lily?
Indeed. We have Wasted Potential 5-3, and in Team Drip 6-2. If Team Drip, again, if they win this, Wasted Potential and Team Drip will switch places. Wasted Potential will go down to B. Team Drip will go up to A. Very excited to see how this will go. I've been watching a lot of both teams practice a lot, and honestly, I don't know how it'll go. They're both very stacked teams, both a lot of skillful players, and I know a good amount of them actually know each other on both sides. So definitely not just some random teams. There's a lot of friendships going on over here. A lot of friends battling. And that's just fun to see here.
Now, for the commissioner, are we going to talk a little bit about tomorrow's games, or are we just going to jump right into our first match of the day? We're probably going to talk about Friday, if I'm not mistaken, which is tomorrow.
I would assume so. I assume I'm also very excited to see how those games go.
Yeah, Dark Aura versus Team Roqueto. Dark Aura is slowly but surely climbing up as fast as possible, trying to get that #1 seed and classify for the top 4. Team Roqueto has been on the rise, just constantly beating out the top teams in the league. They have been looking better each week, and it's a dangerous situation for Dark Aura.
Indeed, both teams definitely rising from the dust. A fantastic skill, and if Team Roqueto is able to beat Team Aura, that will stop them from gaining the top seed. In the what was it, the seedings? What was it the seedings for?
Yeah, this is seedings from I believe it was the Rayquaza side.
The Rayquaza side, yes.
The Rayquaza Conference, 7-1. Looking to go 8-1 and give that fight to the #1 seed right now, which is Ikigai no Tsurugi with the 8-0. Speaking of, we are going to have the second match for Friday actually shown in quite rapidly. It's going to be War Legion versus Ikigai no Tsurugi.
Indeed, if Dark Aura is able to win this game and War Legion is able to win next game, Team Aura and Ikigai no Tsurugi will be tied for the top seed in the entire tournament. But of course, War Legion, I wouldn't be shocked if they're just a bit shook at having to fight on. I'm not shook. I think that's an outdated term. Maybe a bit. I don't want to say scared, but no.
It is definitely intimidating when you fight against an 8-0 team. They have momentum, or Legion Esports. And keep in mind, if Wasted Potential actually wins today and or Legion loses tomorrow, we are going to see a shift maybe in the top rankings in the Zapdos conference as well. So a lot to play for in this final 2 weeks of the Unite World Coronation League.
Indeed, we're going to have a lot of very interesting games today. A lot of shake up in the ranks. A lot of teams going head to head, as always. And I'm very excited to see how it'll go. But But all that being said, I think let's get on with the games.
First game of tonight, it's going to be Magikarp Clan versus Super Squirtle Squad. We have it right on our screens. The battles of the bottom teams playoff elimination. If Magikarp wins, they have their spot in playoffs. If Super Squirtle Squad wins, they have their spot in playoffs. The team's trying to get that W in so they can try to get some momentum for set playoffs. Week 9 in the Unite World Coronation League, 1 week away. And we're going to go into the playoff situation. Again, a little bit of a gauntlet match and then top 4 playoffs with double elimination. Be sure to follow the Unite World Coronation League if you have the opportunity. Just like and share. Just share away whatever you can. This has been Chopper and Lily the God is actually bringing you some commentary. So just waiting on the teams to actually be ready to go into the draft.
Wait, Ryan, could you please go back to the buffs and nuffs section you had? We still need to shout out who made that. Give a little, if possible.
That is right. We're going to go right into it.
We
Yep.
would like to thank we would like to thank Moi Miko. You can find him on YouTube and Twitter for making this, frankly, just wonderfully made buffs and nerfs chart. Definitely helped me. I can't remember all that stuff.
Same. I have an opportunity. So, out of all of the buffs and nerfs, who do you think is going to be the most impactful when it comes to actually getting some more priority in, or do you think it's actually dependent on the teams?
I definitely think it's dependent on the teams, but I do think we're not going to be seeing as much Tyranitar right now. There's definitely some heavy nerfs. Definitely didn't take him out entirely, but with the Dragonite, maybe we'll see some Rampage Dragonite. But though Comfey was buffed, and we all know Comfey goes great with Tyranitar. So maybe that'll just carry over, make him even better. Who knows?
It's
about you?
definitely going to be one of those bands that we're going to go for. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like Espeon, because of the range that they have, additional to the damage buff that they give onto that last security, we could see some more Espeon going. I know MMATS is crazy good with Espeon, so there's going to be a lot of priority when it comes to that side too. Other than that, I think Trevenant, we could see some play out of it. As you mentioned beforehand, those hammers could be very good. Delphox can't be played because it's already banned due to some bugs that they have. Gardevoir, I am expecting to go down on the priority, though the crowd control should be super important. Zoroark is still, I feel like, in an interesting position. Not only did it receive a buff and a nerf, but also the attack stat change, actually making it weaker in the early game and making it a lot more relevant in the late game. It could be something that could change up how Zoroark is perceived overall in the meta.
I 100% agree. I think the issue with the Zoroark currently is it's really a fight between it and, well, normally it's it and Zacian, but for right now it's it and Urshifu for who has the better first gank. And for most teams, it is Urshifu it is Water Bear or Water Urshifu that has the better first gank. And in that kind of fight, second best just isn't very useful. So I definitely think Zoroark just not in the best position, though, we can still see some good stuff from it. And I do just want to point out the little faster Talonflame bit, adorable little face, very funny. Love to see that just
Faster?
added in there. But I do 100% agree with the Espeon bit. I don't think we're going to see much more of it because I don't think it was bad in the first place. These buffs definitely just made it even better than it already was. So I do think it'll be, more of an. I definitely do think it will sort of push some more teams to get better with it, sort of add it to their roster, but I don't think it will, if you were going to play Espeon, you're probably already playing Espeon at this point. This just made it better
True.
for you.
True. Yeah, nobody's gonna want to pick it up just because they think that it's a life changing.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I completely get you there, Lily. Like I was super stoked when I saw the Espeon buff for sure. And I believe, and Mads on Twitter actually wrote that they thought it wasn't necessary to actually have those buffs in the first place. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm gonna take it. I'm not gonna have trouble with that. Because I actually find Super Curious is actually gonna be Outrage Dragonite. Most of the time, you want to run Hyper Beam Dragonite just to have that secure when it comes to actually hitting those objectives in, and that's why we see, like for example, High Five, which is one of the best Asian teams currently in the world from Pokemon Unite, run that Dragonite Urshifu composition a lot more just to have that Wicked Blow Hyper Beam secure. But now that Aqua Shifu is so relevant in the meta right now, but you want to actually keep that pressure onto those said team fights. So it's really going to depend on what you want to do with said characters, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely still think there are better Pokemon for the role that Outrage Dragonite tries to fill, but it would definitely be fun to see some Outrage Dragonite since you still don't really see it in yet. We've never I don't think we've ever really saw it in any sort of high competitive environment, have we? I don't think it's ever been. It's never really been the top build for Dragonite. It's
Honestly,
always
no. Outrage Dragonite, we haven't seen it that much. I do believe there was a video from Spraggles that actually put a couple months ago that actually he thought particularly that Dragonite wasn't actually this good in the map, and then High Five just went in with Dragonite and just showed him that this is exactly what you can do with the character. And obviously, Nouns Esports actually with the Desu running it for the championships last year too. Dragonite is also one of those. If you get that momentum going, it's going to be difficult to stop.
That is true. A over-leveled Outrage Dragonite, I don't care how bad it is, I definitely don't want to go against that. But I don't know. I'm interested to see what people will go for their tank roles. Of course, we have the Trevenant, Woodhammer, fantastic CC. I know it is a pretty good counter to Zacian, at least in some parts it is. But so I wouldn't be shocked if there are a lot of teams just practicing it anyways, and they're gonna bring it into here, even though we again are not allowing Zacian for the time being. But
True.
I don't
True,
know.
true.
You go.
Yeah. So talking about defenders a lot, Lily. There has been some shifts in priority when it comes to defenders too.
Indeed.
Slowbro has seen exponential play in solo queue. A lot of teams are starting to pick up Slowbro as well, trying to fit it into those team compositions. Blastoise is being somewhat ran as a flex, I would say, in the sense that there are teams who are actually just preferring Surf Hydro Pump to get that tanky in.
Mhm.
But you can also use them as a pseudo all-rounder if you want to go with the stacks and actually go Rapid Spin Water Spout. So defenders are actually starting to rise in priority. Supports are still some of the best characters in the game. So I feel like a lot of the meta right now is a lot of sustain and extended team fights.
Indeed. And think about Slowbro. I don't think we're going to be seeing too much of it due to its surf enough, though
Okay.
Scald is still very good. You've heard of its or not nerf, its bug. You've heard of its bug, right?
True. True. Sometimes it just if you hit them, or rather, it just
If you
falls away from the surf.
Yes, I believe if you basic attack, it will only during surf, it'll only do the first or second surf waves instead of the full 3. So you cannot basic attack while surfing,
Yeah, but
which that is a very impactful nerf. But Scald is still very good, and if you just don't basic attack surf, it's still not a bad move. I'm sure a lot of teams would be perfectly fine still running it.
yeah, for sure, Lily. We're just about to start our first games today. We're just waiting on the commissioner to give us the go ahead to actually start talking about a little bit of the draft system whenever possible. We are seeing Super Search Squad and Magikarp Clan actually going into the play. Now, these two teams actually like to go for a lot of comfort when it comes to the drafting system, more or less. But I'm expecting just the same bans as always, so I would assume that Urshifu would be one of those priority bans. If you're not going to pick it, you might as well ban it. Sableye is still something that they can run. But most of the teams I feel right now, Lily, don't really go for the Sableye anymore just because they don't have any type of experience playing with it or playing against it, because nobody likes Sableye that much. But I digress.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't I wouldn't say that Sableye is a top pick for most teams at this point. He's very annoying, but he just doesn't really do much in team fights. Of course, he can win pretty much any 1v1 that's not against a, I don't know, a Slowbro or a Blastoise. But in a team-based environment, in a competitive environment, that's just not gonna do it, especially for a support who's really only good for backcapping and being annoying. We really don't need that in our team. But I do agree. We've been seeing a lot of comfort picks. I wouldn't be shocked to see, you know, some Gardevoir still, though again with the nerfs, we may be seeing something else. And maybe, I don't know, what's another a good mage about right now? We might be
Espeon?
Espeon, Espeon, of course. We might be seeing some Espeon, maybe some Dragapult or A9, Duraludon, all pretty good attackers. But we'll have to see. I I'm I'm shocked that they're gonna. I wonder what they will do um for their supporter picks and supporter nerfs. I'm sure they're probably gonna, you know, ban, of course, Blissey, maybe even Comfy today. So, and of course, Clefable is already banned. So, I definitely think we're gonna be seeing a lot of Hoopa today. I will say that.
Yeah. Hoopa, after the buffs from a couple patches ago, has been
Mhm.
seeing a lot of play, especially when it comes to securing objectives and rotations on the map. Make sure you get there as soon as possible and just secure those victories. As well as that Unite move actually getting a ridiculous amount of cooldown reduction onto one of those changes. Hoopa is definitely one of those Pokemon to watch out for because we're looking right at the bracket right now. And Lily, I'm actually super happy with the change. We did have a traditional bracket beforehand, but now switching it up to the gauntlet stage before going into the top 4 double elimination, it just gives teams the opportunity to continue to get that momentum and the more series they play, and the top 4 teams would get an opportunity onto the losers bracket as well to show what they're made of.
I 100% agree. I think it's a very interesting bracket. I think it's a very fun way to show it. And of course, like we said before, the two teams we have now, Super Squirtle Squad and Magikarp Clan, whichever team does lose today will be kicked out and they will not be eligible in playoffs. So, a lot riding on this set right now. This is in 2 weeks, he says.
The commissioner
The commissioner
talking
has
about it.
spoken, everyone.
Yep. You got to talk about it. 2 weeks.
This is in
We're going to
2
have this playoffs
Right, the
right
playoff.
underway. Week 10 is still left to be played, however. A lot of, psychological value onto those last games, even if everybody's already seated in their places. Week 9 going to be super important when it comes to actually playoff placing as well.
Indeed, still a lot of shakeups can happen. A lot of stuff can happen. Who knows that? Who knows how the next 2 weeks will go? I, you know, I just can't wait to see it. There's a lot of very interesting teams. A lot of them have put, a lot of time, a lot of effort into this, and I hope the best for all of them.
Just about to start the first match of today.
Gonna go into
Magikarp
picks
Clan.
and bans.
Hopefully so. Magikarp
and-
Clan and
Magikarp
Super
Clan
Squirtle
and-
Squad.
So, who would you say is your favorite Mon, or who would you say is got the best deal out of this recent patch?
That's a very interesting question, Lily. My bias says Espeon is the
Of course.
best change that they actually got, considering the amount of damage you can do with Side Shock as well as the stun, which can be so prevalent when it comes to AoE and crowd control. Meta relevant stuff as well is going to be super important. Other than that, I would consider maybe Trevenant, like you mentioned beforehand, could be a defender to look out for, especially with those buffs to the hammer and a couple of cooldown reductions there. Again, I would really love Wigglytuff to actually be a lot more prevalent because of the same reasons that I mentioned beforehand, that Espeon gets some more priority. You're going to have that cooldown reduction onto the same, but that's when you have other supports to the level of Blissey, Comfy, and then the rest of the cast, it is so difficult for you to be relevant, especially if you don't have any type of healing if you're a support.
Indeed, Wigglytuff and Mr. Mime, they've always basically just been defenders in disguise, and right now, with all the consistency you see and just the small bit of healing Mr. Mime has, most teams are preferring it. But personally, I would say the Pokemon that got the most love this patch was probably Comfey. Of course, Comfeyzation is unbeatable, but even not that, Comfey Garchomp, which has been definitely rising in usage. I've been seeing a lot more Garchomps in a lot of really good teams. But I don't know. I'd definitely say Comfy is in a much better spot than it was during its release, and I think it'll stay there for a good bit. It's definitely people are, especially now since people are really learning how to play it to get the most healing out of it, and have it, not just basically pocket one person all game. So
Yeah, we are seeing the changes onto a more Yumi League of Legends esque move. Getting that hotfix buff, it gives me a lot of hope for those hotfix nerfs that we are expecting from Zacian, who debuted just recently, and that Pokemon in particular has been wrecking every single mode that the game has.
it definitely does need the nerfs, but at the same time, I paid $8 for it, and I'd be kind of annoyed if they just went and nerfed it. At least give me like just another week, maybe. Tencent, if you listen to me, like if you want another dollar from me, just push it back a week. Let me get to like 600 in Masters at least. I'm already 500. That's pretty good, but.
Oh, just a little bit more. I mean, you use them a little bit more in ranked, and you should be good. You can take over games. You can be like Chris Heroes and actually get 40 KOs in a game.
Hey, don't go compare me to Chris Heroes. I don't think I can be Chris Heroes now. Man got what? He got like 40 kills in one game. I can get
Yep.
At most like 37 in a bot match. But
37 is still impressive, Lily.
I mean, it's a bot match. But again,
I mean, 37 is 37. You don't have to give more explanation than that, Like they ask how many KOs have you gotten in the match? Oh, 37. And
Yeah, true.
nobody's just gonna bat an eye, right?
well,
So
55, no big deal. But yes, who would you say is I don't know who I don't know if I should be asking this question, but who do you think is going to win today's matches? For especially this one right now, Magikarp Clan or Super Squad? Who are you hedging your bets on?
Okay. I feel like Super Squirtle Squad is just about to figure it out. Like we've seen them in the precipice of winning those series, and it's just heartbreak after heartbreak, right? A lot of the games
Yeah.
that they have lost have been down to the wire and just little mistakes that eventually cost them everything. Magikarp Clan did have similar situations, but I felt like most of the games that they were going for, they were a lot more lopsided when it came to actually fighting against other teams overall. So I feel like Super Squirtle Squad should come in with the advantage. But again, Magikarp Clan being from my island, from Puerto Rico, I gotta go with my boys from from the clan. Magikarp Clan.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I do think Super Squirrel Squad does have just a bit of an advantage. The games we've seen for them, even though they haven't won any yet, they've pretty much all been incredibly close. Nearly all of them going to Rayquaza. There haven't really been any just heavy 2-0s on their side, which is nice to see. But of course, Magikarp Clan, you can't count them out. They've definitely shown that they know what they're doing. And they've definitely popped off a bit in these games too. Especially in more recent weeks. Very happy to see that. But either way, it's one team takes it all tonight.
Yes.
And
Go.
and onto the picks and bans, we see a Wigglytuff on the side of Magikarp Clan. Guess you're not going to see that Wigglytuff this game.
No, and I feel like it's Target Man versus Super Squirtle Squad too, because we've been talking throughout the few minutes that we have been on the quote unquote analyst desk on week number 9. And we actually agreed that Wigglytuff is not pretty much relevant in the meta, not as the Blizzy that is going to come out as the second ban from the side of Super Squirtle Squad, and actually banning T-Tar as well. So probably not going to see that protect the president with T-Tar. I'm expecting maybe a comfy ban here.
I
No
wouldn't.
healing from but neither team.
I wouldn't expect a comfy ban. You already got the T-Tar, you already have the Blissey. I wouldn't be shocked. Yep. I was just about to say, I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe an Urshifu ban, and I definitely don't think we're going to see anything like a comfy right now. Possibly like a Mr. Mime. That's what Magikarp Crane will pick a Mr. Mime for the first pick, just taking that right from the bat. And now Super Squirtle Squad's really only left with one more support that can really heal, and that being comfy.
Yeah,
Go see if
Mr.
we'll pick him.
Mime. Yeah, Mr. Mime actually
Yes.
being a lot more relevant at the beginning of this of the of the league. One of the best supports that we had out there. A couple of changes actually brought it down to normalcy a little bit. So a lot more human than what it was in God mode a couple of patches ago for sure.
Oh, I
We're
still
waiting
remember
for
it like it was yesterday. Those were some games.
So interestingly enough, we are seeing the Hoopa actually picked, like you mentioned as
course.
well, Lily. We're gonna have a lot of prio onto the Hoopa and pairing it with the Mamoswine, gonna get those defenders in for that front line.
Yep, it definitely seems like they might be going for a bit of a CC heavy comp on Super Squirtle Squad's side. You know, maybe just maybe just would you say banning that Blissey so they can't really get a helping hand off, not a helping hand. What is it called again? The CC negation move?
A safeguard?
Safeguard, yes. Besides that, Magikarp Clan, they're going to pick Snorlax for their second pick and Gardevoir. Even with the nerfs, they still want it, and I hope it works out for them. But they have two very good tanks on their team, and with what I would assume is their jungler. So now they have maybe an all-rounder and maybe another ranged character, maybe an A9, possibly I don't know, like a Duraludon or a Cram or something.
Yeah, this is one of those moments where you would think Delphox would actually go here, but Delphox is banned. So pairing it up against the Guardy would be something that we have seen a lot of common play actually move into that. A lot of teams are actually preferring to actually go for some flex picks onto this third pick, something that you can throw in lane as well as in the jungle. Gardevoir is capable of running in lane, but you do not really want the weakness of routes and Curlia in lane. That's why, like Lily mentioned, it's probably going to go for the jungle this time around. Though Magikarp Clan, knowing their players, we still have an attacker available for the jungle, which could be a Greninja pick if Super Squirtle Squad has done their homework. It's one of their best characters, and actually rocking the Espeon on the side of Super Squirtle Squad.
Very interesting to see. The Espeon just got a ton of buffs, and it seems like they're willing to take advantage of that. Because we are going to the next ban, and I do agree with you. I wouldn't be shocked to see Magikarp Clan banning a jungler, like if not banning Greninja. As you said, of course, that is a very heavy comfort band for them, and they currently don't really have a jungler on their side besides Espeon. But again, I personally don't think Espeon is the best jungler. I think there are a lot currently with the comp they have now. There's a lot better things to put it in there, and they're going to have a Dodrio. Dodrio will be Super Squirtle Squad's last ban before the last two picks that Magikarp Clan's ban is right now. We'll see
Yeah,
what it is.
one of those Pokemon that you do not really want to fight against. Is Decidueye gonna be the last ban on Magikarp Clan side? Another target ban. So we're seeing Wigglytuff and Decidueye pretty much target banning people. I think the Super Squirtle Squad went a lot more meta relevant when it came to Blissey, T-Tar, and Dodrio bans. What do you think of how the banning system has been going out so far?
I definitely think it shows the strength of the sort of banning system we have here in the Unite Coronation League. Of course, with all these bans, it really just again allows for such interesting sort of team comps. Of course, we can just basically always count out the Dodrio, Blissey, T-Tar, Urshifu, and now we get to see some interesting stuff like Snorlax. You don't really see that every day. And of course, the Decidueye is going to be banned, and I wonder what Super Squirtle Squad's going to pick for their possibly other laner. I wouldn't be shocked to see a sort of Espeon Mamo top lane, sort of maybe Hoopa in another attacker bot lane.
Yeah, do keep in mind this our 1 minute pick and ban
And
Cinderace.
it's Cinderace, most likely going in jungle.
Yeah, definitely, Lily. Cinderace is going to be a monster on the side, so we're probably going to have Greninja versus Cinderace on both jungles on both sides of these teams, looking for that comfort on those attacker hyper carries and just racking up that damage. Now I'm assuming that Magikarp Clan actually has some other aces up their sleeve, but they're gonna go for Aegis Slash actually to actually run it in lane and closing out quite possibly with the Ninja Frog in the last pick.
I wouldn't say it's gonna be. I would be. I
Ooh.
definitely. Ooh, Pikachu. That makes a lot more sense. You already
Okay.
have Age Slash and a God of War, both of which, you can definitely play Age Slash in lane. But God of War, I'd be very shocked if they picked it first and then went for their um for a Greninja and just to have God of War play in lane. Pikachu, I think, makes a lot more sense, especially now with the Charizard. With the Charizard, the last mod of Super Squirtle squads, that's probably going to have to be going into lane. So, we're going to have some very interesting early lanes. Who do you think right now, just from this, has the advantage in the game?
It
Just from
kind of
these picks.
Yeah, it kind of feels like Magikarp Clan is gonna have a little
Mhm.
bit more crowd
I
control, but the
definitely agree.
Mamoswine can be very dangerous when it comes to Ice Cold Chards if they get onto the back line that Magikarp Clan is actually trying to go for. I feel like most of the damage is gonna fall onto the Guardy. Aegis Slash is still gonna be really good when it comes to 1v1 scenarios. But other than that, Pikachu is more like a set character more than an attacker. It's more like a supportive role, just try to stun people and then last hit him with Electro Ball. If that's what they're gonna go for. Um, yeah, a lot of the responsibility and damage goes on to Gardevoir and Aegis Slash, whereas I feel like Super Squirtle Squad has a lot of damage that they can distribute around.
I would 100% agree. And I do think that Magikarp Clan definitely has a bit of an advantage here when it comes to their picks. Really the only sort of, you know, uh, damage they have is the Cinderace and Espeon, which H Slash is able to deal with pretty easily, especially if Cinder makes a mistake of possibly just jumping in just a bit too close. Unless we could possibly see a Fireball build, that'd be very interesting to see. But Charizard, that basically just wins them any fight here, especially with two squishies being Gardevoir and Pikachu. Not much
Hmm.
you can do against it in that scenario. But
Yeah,
of course.
the only trouble that they might have was actually trying to um, take down that Aegis Slash if they're going to go onto the back line. So Mamoswine is going to have a lot of work to do, and Charizard as well, depending on the build that they're going to go for.
We're gonna hold on 1 second as the stream is not on 2-minute delay. Just noticed that, so we're gonna go ahead and do the 2-minute delay. Please hang out, chill out. 2